Hello. Um, I have a new hat that I decided to wear for these videos. I also have another hat that next month I will show. Um, but today it's Friday the 13th, and so I've already talked about all the films, but I thought, it's been a while since I've done something like this where, I'm talking about like the overall franchise, and I thought, years ago I kind of did a showing off the like the sets I got, like particularly with the Scream Factory set. I thought I should, I don't know, especially since last time I got some new stuff Friday the 13th related and all with 4K and such. That I'd go back and just sort of go through some of the Blu-Rays and stuff that I've got, or actually all of them. So the first is the original film uncut. This is the same kind of version of the DVD, the deluxe DVD. 1 through 8. The Paramount films, all of them came out in deluxe editions on DVD, and then this one came out also on Blu-ray. Very good transfer, very good. It's has all the stuff from the DVDs ported over here, and they've made as many some of those, as upscale as much as they possibly could, which is cool. The Blu-ray, and then there was part 2, and same thing, special features and everything the same from the Blu-ray, for the DVD release. And that's one thing about Paramount; they're very good at importing all the stuff back onto to any like Blu-ray, like special features. Generally, if there's a DVD release, they'll put that on the Blu-ray, which is nice. So obviously, this is Jason when he's the killer. First one, it was his mother. Spoiler. And then 3, where he finally gets his hockey mask for the first time ever in the franchise. Part 2, he had the sack on his head. And also, these came with 3D glasses, came with the DVD. Though this actually has some special features, whereas the DVD didn't really have one, or any. So that was also part of the reason I got the Blu-rays, was so like, well, I don't want to just have this. I'll get the first 2 also. And obviously I did. And these all came out in 2009, I believe, right? Yep, all 2009. And they have released 4 on its own, though they also have it on a steelbook. They released all 3 of these on a steelbook, in steelbook form. I didn't get those because, they were just Blu-ray, and it was also at the time where they had 4K and stuff, so I'm like, okay, if you want to have the Blu-rays, fine, but what about the, the 4K or versions, and yeah. But also around the same time in 2009, there is the reboot. A lot of people call this a remake, and I know I've mentioned this before, so it's probably tiring to hear, but again, this is a reboot. They took the first 4 films and they created a brand new story with various elements from the first 4, and they made something really cool. with it. But yeah, you know, more modern take on the franchise. And again, I like this film. There are people who don't like it for various reasons, but I've always enjoyed it. Um, Unfortunately, we didn't get to see anything else from, you know, afterwards. They are releasing a television show in the near future, um, like a prequel show. So who knows how that will be? But yeah, Linda Cardinale will be Mrs. Voorhees, and I'm wondering whether Jason will also be in it. You know, at least as a kid, or what will happen. Yeah. So this has the theatrical and the killer, or the special extended edition called the Killer Cut. So both versions are on here, and they both are rated R. Even though one is the Killer Cut, it's essentially like the extended, you know, as it says here, special extended version. Sort of like, you know, maybe a director's cut of sorts, like putting in more stuff that they wanted, you know, not just for more violence, because there's 9 more minutes of footage. You know, theatrical cuts rated R, or, you know, they're both rated R, but 97 minutes, and extended version is 106. So there's more than just like, oh, some more blood and such. You know, it's some more scenes. And I did see this in the theater, and yeah, every so often I will watch the theatrical cut, but not as often. But yeah. And while this isn't necessarily part of any big set or an individual film for like the Blu-rays, this is the Crystal Lake Memories Complete History of Friday the 13th documentary. Yeah, it's like 7 hours or so talking about all of 12 films, as well as the television show, which isn't really connected, but it's interesting to hear about them talk about it, because the TV show kind of gets lost. A lot of people aren't super fond of it as much, mainly because it was supposed to be called something else. I think the 13th Hour or so was the original title, but if they called it Friday the 13th, that's going to get eyes onto the show. Of course, it has nothing to do with Jason or or Crystal Lake or anything. They're just looking at cursed artifacts, and yeah. I don't own that show, but I mean, I did see it on TV. They had reruns, and so I would watch it once in a while, and yeah. It's kind of alright. Wasn't one I really loved, but like, it wasn't a bad show. Now here is the first set. It came out, I believe, around the same time that documentary came out. This tin set. The first time ever that they had all 12 films. Together. And there is a back here. I've done my best to keep it as good as possible. And yeah, there's the inside. Jason's coming. Yeah, she's in the lake. That's from the reboot. So we get this out here. And then there's just more of the water and lake stuff. And oh yeah, now outdated digital copy. Oh boy, I already used that anyway. In conjunction with it being out of date, put that right here. And yeah. Alrighty. Yeah. 3D glasses, of course, for part 3. and the Camp Crystal Lake counselor patch, which I will never actually put onto anything. I'm just going to keep it as is, because why not? And here is the where all the films are stored. You know, you're all doomed. You know, I told the others, they didn't believe me. You're all doomed. Thank you, Crazy Ralph. And here is a little sample of the Crystal Lake Memories book, which I don't have. I don't know why I don't have it. Enough time has gone on. But yeah, this has only the first 11 films, from the first one all the way to Freddy vs. Jason, because it came out, I believe, 2005, and so the reboot hadn't yet to be made. And I've heard some interviews with the author, Peter Bracke, who actually did some commentary on part 2, or actually the first 3. At a hand in that, but there's a special feature with him on the second film. But you know, they he was talking and saying how like how, because of how you know Warner Brothers now owns New Line, you know, he'd have to, you know, there'd be have to have a renewal of the whole sort of agreement that was initially made, because he made it with New Line, not owned by Warner Brothers. And so to do that, in order to get all these interviews, because he has gotten interviews since with people from the reboot, and you know, he could do something on the ebook and add things like that. That wouldn't be a problem. But for like a physical copy of an update, it's kind of a hard thing to do, because it's like, you know, with rights and stuff from licensing, with pictures and stuff, you know, if it was just the interviews, okay, fine, but still with licensing and all, which they had a hand with Paramount in making the reboot. Paramount and New Line came together, a rarity, where they split, where most of the, like, Paramount handled internationally, and domestically was New Line. But yeah, it's just one of those things where a lot of that just kind of, it's just going to be like sort of like a up to that point. You could see everything or read everything and see all these pictures, but he is hoping to do a book about the various remakes and reboots of horror. So that might be where he'll put the Friday the 13th stuff, because that could be a different thing and be an easier time to get the licensing and the rights with the pictures and such, with behind the scenes stuff. That way it doesn't have to go through all this stuff just to add like another chapter in this, or you know, a book that's already finished. But yeah, I really should get the book though. I've looked at this over the years here and there, and it's granted, it's not like a major in-depth book or anything, like for a little sampling though, but it's kind of cool little things here and there about the movies. There's a part 4, my favorite film of the franchise. And of course, the actual discs. Now, you know, the first 4, they were all individual. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. But then people weren't super fond of this set for this reason. You got 5 and 6 on one disc, 7 and 8 on another disc. 9 and 10 on a disc itself as well, and also the R-rated version of Jason Goes to Hell. Though if you did put the digital code in, you do get the unrated version of the film. So there you go. On this physical release, you don't get the unrated, but on the digital, you did. So I guess that's something. Then, of course, there's Freddy vs. Jason and the Friday the 13th reboot. And then for good measure, you get this bonus disc, which is from a set I actually don't have, but I've seen often, or I saw often enough, like at FYE. This Friday the 13th special features disc. It's on DVD, but just cool. It's about the Paramount films, so some pretty cool stuff about those movies, and yeah. You know, like the insides of the films, like behind the scenes and such. So behind the gore and all this other stuff that those discs, those DVDs, like had all those extras. That DVD set had all like the big extras on the last disc, and so they put that here, which was cool. Especially since I never, got that. Yeah, never got that DVD set. And also with FYE, stuff like that was also a bit more pricey than it probably should be. But I probably could find it on eBay at a reasonable price. And so, yeah, I will put this back on here. Alrighty, Rudy. But yeah, this was the first time all 12 films were ever able to be on in one set. Before, it was like, you could get all the Paramount movies together on DVD, and of course later on Blu-ray, all 8 films. Then you could get like Jason Goes to Hell, Jason X, and Freddy vs. Jason together on DVD, and then I think on Blu-ray. And then they would often have the 2009 reboot of Friday the 13th with the 2010 remake. So, yeah. But yeah, this was pretty cool for the time. But then, of course, there is the Scream Factory Collection Deluxe Edition. And the first 4 I really enjoy a lot. 45 years old this year. Often on Friday the 13th, like today, I'll often, watch like these 4 at night, late afternoon into the night, and then the next day, I'll sort of continue with the next 4 films. Part 5, which is 40 years old. Not the biggest fan of this film, but that's fine. And of course, Part 6. Part 7. Part 8. And then 9, 10, 11, 12, reboot. Yeah, we just need that 13th film. I mean, you know, why not? And then this cool 2-disc set of special features, more so than we're on the individual discs. Funnily enough, on I believe the first disc, there is all of the or there is a featurette from part 3 on here about the mask, about the hockey mask, and how that came to be. You know, that's become iconic, you know. So I kind of found that interesting that they put that on, like, on this disc rather than having it on part 3. That kind of threw me when I was going through all the films first time. And of course, you know, they did have that the issues with them. 3, 9, 10. 3 had the issues with that 3D, though. I mean, I got all the fixed discs, and even though I know I'll likely never watch that film in 3D, I figured might as well just have it fixed anyway. And then, of course, there's this cool booklet about the franchise and stuff. Yeah. Famous scene of them being impaled. Yeah. Probably the best Friday the 13th set, you know, for Blu-ray. There was a poster. I didn't get that, but that's fine. I really wanted these movies for sure. You know, the first 4 especially had 4K transfers, which is nice. And those are the transfers that they had for the new Steelbook individual releases. So, yeah. But, yeah, and one thing that was cool about the bonus discs, they had all the special features from that DVD that I showed you that the tin had. So, yeah, I'm putting all these back. But, of course, as, you know, you get all of them there, it's a bit difficult. Come on. You can go in there. And nothing really on the bottom except for the ratings and all the logos and stuff. So yeah, for the normal Blu-rays, that's basically it for what I got. And then, of course, there are the 4Ks. This is the first one, which has both the theatrical and uncut version. Of course, the Steelbook version of this. Theatrical cut is on the Blu-ray that this has. Now the other one just has a 4K disc. I didn't get part 2 yet, but I likely will in the near future. And then, of course, the Arrow sets of part 9. There's the original poster art. Part 10. And the 12th film, the reboot. That's one thing that's cool about having the slip covers. You can always, with Arrow, you can switch out the, the slip thing and, turn it around and have the original, like, posters, and then have that be the kind of like the case with this slip cover that has unique new stuff. Hopefully Arrow will be able to get Nightmare or the Freddy vs. Jason film, because Paramount seems to be doing their 4K versions, which is cool. And so if they keep that up, they'll have all 8 at some point in the near future. But yeah, be great to have Freddy vs. Jason in 4K, because the new box set of A Nightmare on Elm Street will not include Freddy vs. Jason, just the first 7. So, that'll people will want the gap between Jason X and the reboot. So hopefully Arrow will be able to get this or that film, since they initially weren't able to because of the Nightmare on Elm Street set, but with them not going to include Freddy vs. Jason with that set, some hope remains that perhaps they will get Freddy vs. Jason to be on 4K. And yeah, that's really all I have to say. This was kind of fun to do, just go look through all of these movies again, or all the films I got or the Blu-ray releases I have for Friday the 13th. 45 years since the original. And I remember 5 years ago, well, this October, I got to see the original film on the big screen with one of those special features about the gore being after the film. That was really cool to see on the big screen. I didn't get to see the 4th film last year, unfortunately. I wanted to, but there was a bunch of stuff going on that I wasn't able to see it, and it also was only at night. For only one day only. It wasn't like multiple days like they often have, so that was a bummer for me, but hey, who knows, maybe one day they will have it again. Maybe in 4 years, when that film is 45 years old, they'll re-release that again, but obviously time will tell. And they might just re-release it again at some point in the near future, just because, regardless if there's any anniversary for that film. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about all these movies. I know horror and slasher franchises are not for everybody. I've said this before, so if you watched all the way to the end, oh, there you go. And also, yeah, the final chapter. I just love that poster. I'd love to have that poster one day. Like, if I could only have one Friday the 13th poster. I mean, I have 3 technically here with the Arrow releases with all the original theatrical posters. At least the image, without all the credits of everyone in it. But it'll probably be that one, the 4th film. I just love that film. It's my favorite of the franchises. Um, it's my third favorite horror film after Silence of the Lambs and Jaws. So yeah, I really love that movie a lot. Obviously, if people enjoy these films, they'll all have their own uh, um, preferences. Um, but yeah, so I'll watch the first four later on in the day, and then tomorrow I'll definitely watch the next eight. And if I want to make a full day of it, I'll watch, or the next four at least. Then I might watch the next four after if I want to make a whole day of it. But I'll probably at least watch the next four, 5 through 8, tomorrow, and then maybe Sunday I'll watch 9 through 12. Hopefully one day we'll get a 13th film. But again, that'll be the 13th, and so they say 13 is an unlucky number. So yeah, whatever. I guess we'll have to see what'll happen in the future. Hopefully, A24, who is doing this series, TV series, will do a good job. I know at one point, Kevin Williamson, who wrote Scream, was involved. Some people have left. I don't know if he's still involved. It's been a while since I checked, but yeah. Hopefully the new show will be good. And hopefully we'll get a new movie. So, yeah. Happy Friday the 13th. I hope all of you are doing well. And we'll have a great day. And, yeah. Have a great weekend. And please take care. Bye.